I'll make it right again, but it's no use. You said, and my hunger grows and grows. I have to write the meaning of my life, or else everything's in vain. When the glory tries to tempt you, it may seem like what you need, but if glory makes you happy, why are you so broken up? So tell me how it felt when you walked on water. Say you get your wish, floating to the surface quicker than you sank. I know. So tell me how it felt when you walked on water. Say you get your wish, floating to the surface quicker than you sank. I know. Don't say you lose just yet, get up and move ahead, and not only for yourself, 'cause that's your role, the work that stirs your soul, you can make for someone else. One day you choke, your urges overflow, and obsession.
Hey everybody, happy Wednesday to you. Hope you all are having a great day, wonderful week. Welcome, of course, to Midnight Hatter Live, the weekly variety show where we talk Gundam, gaming, and Gunpla. I'm your host, Stephen Bayless, aka Midnight Hatter, and joining me this evening, the Blue Gamer Gundam Explainer, Adam Blue. How are you, man?
Hey, doing good. And again, I was even thinking earlier today when I was working, and I was like, man, so much work, but I just cannot wait to be on Midnight Hatter Live to kind of just chill, sit back, not worry about anything, get
Yeah,
creative.
just
So,
just you know, um, exactly, just a relaxing midweek hangout. I've got some cool new things to show you guys. Not just in terms of my personal project, the whole MagMech stuff, but also some things that I've been working on. Last week we were doing some modeling of action bases. Still working on those. We should have the first prototypes up on the store here either by the end of this week or next week. And then I've got some new stuff that I want to show you, but I feel like we probably need a quick reference before I show you what I've done.
okay.
But before we get into that, obviously, you channeled your inner Midnight Hatter by dropping a review of the Wing Gundam
Oh, yeah.
Robot Spirits figure today, which was pretty awesome.
I know. And so this is funny. This goes back to what we've been talking about. The wife and I were just at the mall on Sunday. Or was it Saturday or Sunday? Yeah, we just, we like to walk around it. The Grapevine Mills Mall is pretty big. It's like a mile walk. Oh, and I've been telling you, they've been opening up all these Japanese anime figure stores, and some of them are right next to each other. It's weird. And this one called Box Lunch, I've mentioned it before. They had as I was walking by, I remember my wife was like, "You haven't bought anything yet," and I'm like, we'll see." And then as I'm walking into this, as we're coming up to the store, I look in the window and they have on the shelf where it has all the cool stuff I like, this metal robot spirits wing, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, no way." And so I go in there, I'm like, would I buy this?" But I'm looking at it, and then even my wife is like, "Wow, that's really cool." And I'm like, "Stop it." And
Yeah, I was
so
gonna say, can we just rewind to the part where your wife said, "You haven't bought anything yet?" Because I feel like that's something that nobody in our audience can relate to.
well, you know what's funny about that? It is true that, like and I don't know if it's the economy, the price with the figures, but I've actually in the past few months been a little more deliberate with like not buying too much. And so I'll sometimes get the little minifigure here and there, when we go to a store. So my wife was like surprised I wasn't like buying a. So anyway, I saw
What is
that
this
gun and I
fiscal responsibility?
yeah. Well, so that Metal Robot Spirits, here's the thing, like, this is where it's like I'm not, like, proud in this aspect. It's $200. That's a
Ooh,
lot of money, but for what it is, like, when you have it in hand, it is worth it, and I've gotta say, I feel like this is almost scientific proof that the Wing Gundam is good design because, again, I first watched it, didn't care. Over time, it just grows just thinking about it, then you see the Wing Gundam, and you're like, "Wait a minute, that's a pretty cool looking suit for"
yeah.
for after G Gundam, it's where Gundam's like, "Let's continue to go down this path where the mobile suits aren't necessarily grounded," and
And there's something so cool about the big green chest jewel, like
it evokes it's like this wonder that you would have as a child, but then as a mechanized war machine, it's just all part of, the lore, so,
yeah, it's just good design.
yeah.
And speaking of good design, what I wanna share with you guys, and I've probably talked about this on the show before, but there is a creator by the name of, Age P Biz, okay? So a 3D modeler creator, famously created these little miniature print in place kit cards that are printed on FDM printers. This was hugely inspiring to me when I was shopping around for FDM printers. It's one of the reasons that I wanted something that was
Mm.
multicolor because as you can see, he prints this tank here and like the tank treads are in black and so really really cool model. And all of his stuff is actually available for free on printables.com. So you can download this and make your own little tank. But it got me thinking, there's nothing Gundam like this, right?
No,
So,
and that almost reminds me of the
excuse me.
tank you got me. Remember you got or a couple, 2 tanks. You got me the EFSF tank, and I still haven't painted those. That, your Wing Gundam, I have them in a box of, like, my backlog stuff.
The Hatter stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and the,
Excuse me.
what is the type well, no, no, no. Wait, what is the
The
Zaku
Magella?
tank called again that has the or Zeon tank that has the flight module that comes up off the top?
The Magella.
Magella, that's right, I knew that, okay.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, and those are cool, and honestly, it would be very easy to just print out, like, more of those types of tanks and things, but one of the things that I think is frustrating about it is time-wise, it takes a lot longer, when on the resin printer, you get perfect details, but you have supports, you have all of this, extra post-processing time. What's great about these little tanks is that, like, there's no supports involved, it just prints in place. Technically, you have a runner that's kind of wasted material, but you don't have to print the runner, like, that's just kind of part of the gimmick.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, you could just print the parts if you wanted to just do that.
Because the
But
it real
oh, go
quick,
ahead.
it's because instead of a runner, would it just be like thin filament, or would it just be all separate because it doesn't even need to be connected?
Yeah, I mean, they would just be parts on the plate, like, separate, but,
Hmm.
and actually, that's a part of what I wanted to share with you guys is that I'm designing my own versions of these kit cards that are Gundam related. Now, before I bother designing the runner, I wanted to make sure that the parts actually fit and like click together and do all the stuff that we need them to. So I did just print it without a runner, just flat on the bed. And you can see here in the instruction illustrations here how because parts of the tank like, you end up losing detail because anything that has to be printed flat on the bed without supports, you're it's gonna be, like, flat. You're not gonna have anything. So, by printing the tank in 2 parts cut down the middle, and then designing these, like, interesting little clips, these H
Yeah.
clips that snap into place, then you can actually build the tank that way. So, with that in mind, I didn't even look at the instructions, I didn't realize that it had clips like this, but that was the conclusion that I came to when it came to designing my hover truck. So, I do believe that recently they renamed the hover truck, like, the Bloodhound or something like that, but it
You
is
mean
the hover truck from 8th MS Team,
oh, really? They
printed in different parts. I actually printed the top and bottom separately so that, the clips that attach, the hover discs and things like that could be printed separately and then attached. So what I did, and it'll be probably be tricky to pull up on camera, but I designed these little clips because this prints flat on the bed, which means I can't have any kind of attachment, because they're both flat. So it would just be two flat pieces pressed together. So I printed it with like a little indent, like a little cutaway, and then next to it I had these little like shaped clips. They almost look like dog bones, you know what I mean?
that's
And they snap into the little slot that is created there, and as a result, then you can snap together the kit, and it just comes together flush like that. Likewise, here is the truck bed, like the little tent
yeah,
that sits in the back. That comes in here and just snaps right into the back, and there you go. We have the body and hull of the hover truck, and I have some holes on the bottom here where we would attach the hover discs, but those actually didn't print the way I wanted them to. So all in all, not a bad first prototype. This is definitely going to be a product that's coming to the store as well. I want to have this, the Magella tank, and the Type 61 tank. They're going to be print in place cards that come in multicolor that, they're just going to be single runner model kits to go with high
dude.
grade Gunpla.
Okay, because that so one, Bloodhound, I had no idea what that was the name.
Shout out to, Simply New Type because when
Really?
I was searching for images of it for references, I came across his YouTube video where he talks about it. It's like the
Oh.
M348569 Bloodhound, AKA the hover truck.
M353A4. Yeah. I'm looking it up right now. Just because I love that type of lore because I would always say the hover tank,
Right. It
and I
never had, like, a model name or number, but now it
yeah,
does apparently. So, I guess
okay,
recently they must have maybe it was, like, in Gundam Werewolf or one of these other
huh.
Rust Gundam, something like that.
Okay, so another thing, when I saw you holding it and putting it together, it reminded me of the Robot Spirits version. So the only other one I know of is the Robot Spirits version that you have to buy in like a and I don't even think you can really get it anymore. It was like an option part set.
Yeah.
So really just having it more easily available is because those are the type of things that you would want multiples of.
Right? Yeah, so and so I printed it in blue because I'm just, kind of prototyping it right now. I don't
Prototyping, yeah.
have I wanted to save the gray and black filament that I would probably use for the printing the final version. I'm thinking like, the truck itself will be gray, the little bed that goes in the back will be black. The, the Gatling gun will probably print in black. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll mix up the colors on it, and basically it'll look just like one of those kit cards that HP Biz does. Um, so
Because I
yeah,
think there's only maybe 3 colors.
yeah, it's pretty simple, and I think it's gonna be the same once we do like the Magella and the Type 61
Yeah.
tank. It's like they're pretty monochromatic. Like,
Dude, that would be so cool. I mean, even for Bandai to come out with this,
oh yeah,
like side accessory things to build. Like with the sniper from 0081, it comes with the little mech, but I forget what it's called. R something with an R for some reason is in my head. RIOH or something. I don't know why that.
yeah, I
But
don't know.
but it's like a little mobile worker that comes with the sniper.
Yeah,
And like as cool as that is, I do like the idea of like colored runner thing you could build, put together. Um,
yeah, I could probably fit about 6 of them on the print bed at the same time too, so I'm thinking, like, I'm
oh,
just gonna mass produce a bunch of these and, yeah, we'll
good
go to
lord.
town with them.
Okay, I want to bring something up. H block or H clip, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you know what's interesting about that is from Peru to Lebanon, there are megalithic H blocks that archaeologists don't know why they're there. There's just all these. They look like they're supposed to connect to things, but we don't know. There's no official reason for their existence, and I think
Additive
it's
manufacturing is
yeah,
the Earth was additive manufactured.
dude. I think, But also the other thing, when you were showing the tank that it's like yeah, it's the 2 parts, right? And it's where it's printed, so the bottom part that connects would obviously be but what if you could then print out where one half is, like, destroyed,
Oh,
and then
like
you can, like,
option
clip
parts.
yeah, like, you clip on, like, "Oh, here's the destruction."
That would be pretty cool. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, we definitely need to do something like that. And what's interesting is like I did see when I was doing my research on this is like there are versions of the hover truck that don't have the tent in the bed. Like so there are versions of the hover truck that don't have that. So I would almost want to print like multiple components that could go in the bed of the truck and they just use the same clip to snap in there.
Oh.
And
Yeah,
so
like,
like maybe
being
like a
different
Gatling gun that you can mount back there or like
I see a page that shows it almost looks like there's some sort of device on the back, and I don't know if that's supposed to be like an extra carrier or some sort of thing. I'll send you the link later, but yeah,
yeah,
that is
we
a
can go
great
all
idea.
kinds of fun places with it. So I'm excited that it this was technically a failed prototype, but it's not a total failure. Just like a I would say it's like 60% good.
Well, because of the hover tires or whatever?
The hover tires, I didn't quite get the shape and size of the gunner seat correct. So, like, it sits in there, but it doesn't, like, snap in. So, it's really
Mm.
just about getting the tolerances right on the different, like, attaching components. But what I was talking to a friend of mine about is, like, if I were to try and do this on the resin printer, I would have gone through, like, 7 or 8 failed prototypes before I got anywhere close to something working. Whereas this, like, the first one snapped together perfectly in certain parts. Other parts just need to be tweaked a little bit. The, one of the biggest things was that the hover discs, um, those are print in place as well. They basically print from the bottom up, and then they have, like, a little attachment that connects them to the truck. And the bottom of them kinda got messed up because the rings on the bottom were too thin. So, basically, I just need to go in there and expand the bottom of it, and then it'll print a little bit more cleanly.
Okay, good plan. And that's funny because that reminds me, I also have the mobile suit ensemble of the hover truck, and
Yeah,
again, in that, it's called hover truck, or it's not called
and
Bloodhound,
that one
but
came with a GM head, right?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, and but what's cool is it's almost to scale, but not completely, almost because it's trying to just fit in that size, but, the hover parts that you're talking about are more bigger in that chibi-like nature, um,
and it's
so I guess
probably just
that
for ease of production so that it's
yeah,
not, like, tiny and snaps off, like
yeah. Dude, that is cool. I did not expect, 1, that you were printing that, but 2, that it has this official name, the Bloodhound.
Yeah, see, we learn
Okay,
something every Wednesday.
so Bloodhound makes sense, though.
Well, and I
Be
see in chat, 16 times a second and Alan Mitchell are talking about the Oasis from Side Story, Rise from the Ashes. So Annie, it is Annie, I think, is the name of the operator in Rise from the Ashes. She drives the Oasis, is the
right.
name of their hover truck.
Oh my gosh, I love that game. I totally
So
forgot
good.
about that. But, okay, so in the game, they probably don't use that terminology because you were saying that's probably more of a recent thing.
I think it's I think it's a retcon because I cannot for the life of me remember anybody using any name besides hover truck.
Yeah, it's hover truck on the wiki, not saying that the wiki's completely right, but it's just once you click in, it then gives the detailed name of it.
Yeah.
That, that and then it was just coming to me, like, I wonder I'll have to look if there's, like, a cold districts not cold districts, but, like, the White Dingo, I meant to say. White Dingo, hover truck, I'm gonna look and see if there's any difference to it, or I wonder if it has, like, the emblem.
Yeah.
It's I don't
Y
remember other than, it was in the game.
so that would be something like if I include a water slide decal that comes with the truck of
Ah,
the White Dingo insignia so that you can put that on the side if you want.
Okay, and from what I'm looking up so far, unless well, I'll have to check in game, it doesn't look like it, um maybe color? It looks like it might be a different shade, but anyway, that's just
Yeah.
extra. Mm.
But yeah, I thought it was a neat little addition. So I'm gonna be working on a few more of these to go along with the action bases, get some more fun things for people to check out, and we'll go from there. In the meantime, it has been a couple weeks since we talked MagMechs, and interestingly enough, over on the supporters chat on Discord, I shared some alternative art that you probably saw in the thumbnail of this stream. Um, because Dan V during that stream brought up the idea that like, well, maybe these things look a little too Gundam-y, and maybe it would be more interesting if they looked more unique, something like less Gundam coded, if you will.
Mhm.
And so one of the things that I've always talked about, and we both kind of agree with on this for you know mecha designs, so we tend to like things with a little bit of chunk, a little bit of heft, like
Yeah,
them thick. Um,
exactly.
So I took a few of the concept arts that I showed off on stream a couple weeks ago, and I went through and just regenerated them with a little bit more heft. And so, like I said, you saw that one in the thumbnail. This is the Ewing. Um, I honestly like it a lot more with just a little bit of extra weight in the shoulders and in the legs, in particular. It does make it a little look a little bit bulkier and slow. What do you guys think? I mean, what do you think
Yeah.
of this design aesthetic? Is it too cartoony for uh, the narrative weight of what we are working on here?
No, so I saw what you had posted, and I agree. There's something with the legs that there's something about scaling legs as they become bigger as you go down, which I feel like makes the robot itself have like a realistic foundation to it.
Yeah, no,
If
absolutely. I think not only it works for in a lot of ways because it makes sense from a realistic design point of view because I always hated designs like the Mac Knife and the Wound Wart, those types of Gundams that have like the little spindly legs, because
yeah.
even though technically that would work in space, it is kind of silly to have a robot that walks around on tiny legs like that. This is something that would probably be a little bit more realistic because you would want something sturdy and grounded that's going to hold up the heft of the mecha. And so I like it for that reason. Additionally, when I'm 3D printing miniatures, it makes it a lot easier to pose them in interesting ways
Oh,
because
yeah.
then they don't require as much support. Like they can be printed in place and they work. But yeah,
Yeah, I do like it, and I just remember from, like, the Alex to the Mark II when in UC Gundam, they started adding a little more to the legs, and it made sense to me, like, all the vents in the legs because you would, put that thrust there for a reason,
yeah, give it
yeah,
a little bit more propulsive force, so to
right,
speak.
right.
So yeah, I mean, they still use they could still use some work for sure, and I think that having variety will help as opposed to having them all chunky or all lean.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
think that, having a variety of, like, some have a little bit more heft to them, whereas others, remain kinda skinny is gonna help for sure. But I think this one looks badass. I mean,
I I
it's
love
got that,
the
like, Zazaby look to it, you know?
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah, between the shoulders and the leg, but I gotta say, I love the helmet or the
Yeah,
head, ho
this
whatever
is my favorite head design of all of
yeah,
them. If I was like, I want something that doesn't have a face.
right.
It has,
Yeah,
like, a
no.
face plate, but, like, no face.
That's the thing, it's like Spartans, from, Halo, like, or the ODST, like, it's really cool when you see the kinda military designs of the armor with the helmet, head, whatever, where it's like, yeah, you're not really seeing a face, but it has to have the sensors if that's a visor for a human or, the cameras for a robot, and I really like the way that looks, yeah.
Yeah, Alan Mitchell in chat says, "The bulk is good, except that it seems to V, so, like, favor the legs more than the rest of the body," which that's true. It did put a little too much emphasis on the legs. Ultronymous says, "Gave me Mega Man vibes with the legs being more
Oh,
substantial than the arms." I kinda like
yeah.
that too. I've always been a big fan of, like, the Mega Man, Robot Master designs where they tend to be kind of bottom heavy. Um,
Yeah, that is a good call on that.
Dan V, maybe more bulk in the chest. So the man who inspired these changes, yeah, maybe having it, like maybe not, like, taller, but, like, more forward, like, protruding more. Does that make sense?
Yep. It does. There was, some artwork I saw where it was like a close up of a Gundam head, and it was like a watercolor painting, so it was like it was kinda detailed and realistic, but the protrusions from the helmet seemed more substantial than we would see in normal artwork. Almost like if you were to really focus and look up close, there would be more geometry than you would think maybe sticking out. I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, no, I'm
yeah.
picking up what you're putting down,
Okay.
and, yeah, there's definitely some work we can do to kind of hybridize these in a way that looks less what's the kind of descriptor I'm looking for? More of like a hybridization of, like, American and Japanese mecha designs. I always
Oh.
hate, like, the distinction because most American mecha designs are stolen Japanese designs anyway, so it's kinda like yeah.
So, yeah, that's a good point. So there's those designs, from Japan that we see in a lot of American stuff, and it's like, Robotech, MechWarrior, but then there's the super Western American designs that I think are from MechWarrior, where it's not humanoid any more than it happens to have 2 legs, maybe, and 2 arms, but really the main body of it is more like a tank,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
like, things like the Timberwolf that doesn't have arms, it just has, like, missiles on its on its
Oh,
side.
yeah, that's right. That's a good example of what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Dan V says, "For what it's worth, I thought the Easy 8's chest armor did a good bit to break up the Gundam silhouette." I love
Oh.
the Easy 8's chest armor, and actually I would try to adopt that chest armor onto the Ewing if I were going to, do something like that, just to break up that center panel. I really
Yeah.
don't like that center panel being there in the first place, but between you and me is, like, I would prefer, like, a solid breastplate to that center panel, and honestly, that's not even something I would use AI to fix. I would just go in and Photoshop that because it would take, like, 5 seconds, and probably cost less bottles of water. Um,
Oh, well, there you go. For the
but,
Ewing,
the
what
other design that I would wanna borrow from is, tell me you guys have heard of this old TV show, Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future.
okay, it sounds familiar.
Speaking of,
Hmm.
Mandela effect, um,
Yeah.
my favorite character on this show was Scout, um, and it was predominantly because of Scout's, uh, chest armor design. Let me see here, Scout. I don't want the action figure, I just want is, like, this the best image from the show that we can get? We've gotta do better than that.
1987?
Yeah.
I never saw this.
Oh, man, this show was fantastic. Obviously, it's a post-apocalyptic sci-fi show. Captain Power is fighting against this robot army. But what was incredible about it is the toys that, like, synced up with the show. My older brother had the ship, so they had, like, the spaceship toy that had, like, a gun and trigger on it, and it used, like, the CRT technology to, like, you could shoot the TV while the show was on, and so the bad
Oh.
guys would have these, like, glowing chest orbs, and so you would get points for whenever you would shoot, so, like oh, and look at this early CGI, man, like,
Oh,
this was
really?
Sauron, one of, like, the top lieutenant bad guys, and so when that chest was on screen, you could be like, "Boop, boop, 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 boop," and the, like, score on the gun would go up.
Dude, these are really cool toys that I
Way
guess
ahead of it, like,
I
can
missed.
you like, man, kids today, as spoiled as they are, they have nothing like this.
No, do you remember and this is similar, and I think I brought it up before, what was it called? The show, one of the characters was named Ninjas. He had 3 arms, but it was Master, Robo Master or something Master, and you would wear 3D shades at a certain point.
That's amazing.
Oh, what was it called? Bots Master.
Bots Master.
I'm gonna have to send you, a link to that. But, okay, so here's something. Lately, I have been researching a toy that came out in the late '80s that I had, and I just called it an astronaut, but it was a dude in, like, a white jet spaceship car thing, and I didn't know what it was from, but it doesn't look exactly like Captain Power, but it must be similar.
I wonder if it was, the character Hawk from Captain Power. So there was, like,
Hmm,
obviously each of the characters had, like, different armor designs. It's like Tank
yeah.
had, like, a giant chest cannon that stuck out, Scout had the ability to turn into other people, like a holographic disguise system.
Oh.
Um, Hawk was the one that would fly around. He had, like, a jetpack. That was my brother's favorite, but
That's pretty cool though. Hawk. Yeah, no, it wasn't that, but this is incredible that I don't remember this because this is cool.
dude, that's and what's crazy is I actually went to, buy the DVDs of the show because I was like, "Oh, man, I really wanna, like" because I only had, like, the 1 VHS of it when I was a kid growing up, and so my brothers and I watched the crap out of that tape, and it only has 2 episodes on it, so it was like
Wow.
but, it was a full season, so it was like 25 episodes of this show that were back in the '80s, and so in my adult years, spending my adult money, I went to find the DVDs, and legit, on the official website, they were selling, like, Maxell DVDs with, like, a sticker on them. Like, these were, like, the most bootleg, pirated.
Hey, that's the only way.
You know what? Hey, physical media pr preservation, I'm all about it, so I still
D
have those DVDs.
Dude, I
Uh,
did the same thing. I bought it's the '90s Godzilla films, but in one, like, 4K Blu-ray box set from
yeah,
some guy in Europe because they don't exist, so some
yeah,
guy was making 'em. I
it's amazing.
I
I
know.
mean, the first Zeta Gundam DVD set that I had was definitely a bootleg. In
That's
fact, like, one
awesome.
of the episodes never worked. Like, it was, like, episode 22 or something like that, just never like, it would skip over it, but
Shout out to the bootleggers. You
yeah.
know, it reminds me I was doing some research, video game research this morning, and how, like, the people that, like, will port, like, they're trying to port Resident Evil 4 on Dreamcast. Like, that's
Yeah.
awesome, but to them, they're like, "I don't really care if anyone plays this or not. I just wanna port this to Dreamcast." You know, it's like it's almost like the bootleggers. It's like, yeah, you're helping people at the same time, you're almost doing it for yourself. So,
Yeah.
and then it's like, "Well, I can actually offer this for others." Yeah. That's
Well, and, what's interesting about that is that when you're doing those kind of ports, then you uncover things that make it easier for you to port other games, like,
Yep.
those the same roadblocks that people encounter allow you to kind of speed up other people's progress. So it's always
Yeah.
great to share that kind of stuff and share the
There you go.
process. Which,
Share the
speaking
load.
of which, I can share with you guys some new stuff here. Again, further stuff on the MagMech side. I want to show a little bit of my process here for what we are going to be doing with some of the video game characters. Now, this isn't going to work for the mechs, unfortunately, because the mechs really do need to be dialed in as far as the designs go. And they do need to be like modeled so that we can do specific things with them. But the individual characters, and Adam, I've shared with you the massive cast of characters that we've got going on here. I've got concept art for every single one of them, and, well, we just need 3D models of them to go into the video game, and, like, I really don't feel like doing all of that work myself. So, of course, we are gonna lean on a little bit of AI assistance for that. Let me show you guys how this works. So, one of the things that I always like to bring up is that, like, every AI model, every AI product out there has its strengths and weaknesses, alright? So, even though a lot of the art that I've been using has been through Adobe Firefly, what I have found is that Google Gemini takes instructions better. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and start with a new prompt here, and I'm actually just going to copy what I've got here, um, and we'll use one of the characters that we showed off last week. So let me just drag some of this concept art into here. I always like to be nice to the AI. So what we want is we want to take this stylized concept art, this all this stuff, and we want to take away the background. We want to pose the character in a way that's going to make them easier to rig later. So we want to put them in a T pose. We want to have a front facing view, and we want it to be on a plain white background so that we can, more easily extrapolate what is a character and what's the background. So as you guys remember, this is the character Corwin we talked about a couple weeks ago. I've got a couple of other ones here that we did just to test out the process, the procedure. And I like to do these all in the same chat because when we do that, we get more consistent results. I think this looks pretty good. So we're just going to download it here. Corwin T-pose. And let's hop into our 3D model generation software here. This is Trippo
Whoa.
AI, one of the more popular ones online. Again, it has pros and cons. A lot of the stuff in here is paywalled. You only get 300 credits a month for generating certain types of models. I think that the textures in particular look fantastic in this.
Yeah.
And you actually have the ability to render it in different styles. So, like, we can change it to this cartoon style and have like
No,
the
that's
thick
cool.
cell shaded rendering. Now, that stuff doesn't export along with it, unfortunately, but you know, what can
Can
you
you
do?
increase the cake?
Yeah. So let's grab our newly generated art here. Where'd it go? I thought I had Corwin T pose here. Let's see. So we're just going to drag this in here and generate model takes 35 credits. It's going to take a few minutes to do, and in the meantime, we can talk about some of the other characters that we've got on the docket for doing this with. Now, obviously, you guys saw I did the main character, Kaylin. Her character model turned out really good. There are a couple things about the texture that I want to tweak. Like you saw that like the hair color was a little messed up in places, but that's an easy fix. We just open up the texture in Photoshop, paint it black, all set, fixed up. Um, so this is actually kind of a cool thing that Trippo does is, they have this rendering cloud, and when it gets to a certain point, you're going to see that it changes from the Trippo logo to the character that it's rendering. So you almost get like a preview of what it's going to look like.
So
Um,
you were using Gemini to render the character in the T pose, but are you using a paid version or free version?
Free version. Yeah.
Damn.
I don't pay for anything.
That's
Well, except for Adobe,
impressive.
but that's because I use Adobe
Right.
products. So, but yeah, so I mean, taking this concept art and saying, "Hey, give me the T-posed version of that," gave me this perfect, clean image. Um, and then we pop it over into Trippo and we get our character model. But again, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of this because Trippo actually has two generation models. They have a smart retopology model that they charge more for. You have to be a premium member, all this other stuff. So you can't really do much with that on the free tier. Then they have the high resolution model here, which again, we're using it for the textures primarily and the accuracy to the image, which it has over, Meshi or Hunyuan. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take this model, export it, and then re-import it into another model that does the smart retopology for free so that then we get the game asset ready version of the model.
Damn.
Um, Now, these are the characters that we showed off a couple weeks ago. Obviously, Kaylin, her little brother Tenor, Corwin, the corporate sales rep. We've also got one of our psychic pilots. We've got this big scary fellow by the name of Baku. We have our aging war hero Varga, which I think I mentioned him during our stream. We've got his lieutenant Sarah Ryan. We've got one of our rival pilots, Varian Lash. We've got the friendly engineer, Darren Urich. We've got both of our chief antagonists, Queen Regent Zevra and Supreme Chancellor Orlan. Um, you've got to have a pair of psychic twin pilots, one crazy, one cool. So we've basically got every archetype of lieutenant pilot covered.
That's what it seems like.
um, and so yeah, basically what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go in and create all of these characters as game ready assets. I think Corwin here is looking pretty dang good. Didn't
Yeah,
quite get
that's
his beard down, but I still
oh,
think that that's gonna be a solid character model to use.
yeah.
Now I have a special, method of extracting these files. I'm gonna skip over that, and we're gonna skip straight into the next step, which is going to be actually, like, taking this from a high resolution, like, 3D printable model and turning it into something that's gonna not crash our video games, which, that's something that I feel like, you've talked about this on Blue Gamer where it's like, with all the shader compilations and things that are rendered in Unreal, and you've
Yeah.
got these like 5 million polygon characters, kind of creates problems. So we want to make sure that we're optimizing against that stuff. Um, so with that said, let's see what we got here. Okay, yeah, I've got my model. So over here in Tencent, hey, Tencent owns everything, right?
Yeah.
The Hunyuan model has a lot of benefits. Now, like I said, they do the multiple images, so you can upload like images of the front, back, top, bottom. That's kind of cool because it gives you a little bit more accuracy. But unfortunately, like the actual model generation and texture generation is a little sloppy. However,
Mm.
they do these 3D smart topology for free. So, what we are going to do is we're actually not going to do image to 3D. They have an option to do model to 3D. So we just take our 3D model, drop it in. I don't know if we want to go triangles or quadrilaterals. I will do triangles because we can always go in and just do tris to quads in Blender. So we're going to hit generate. This is going to take approximately 240 seconds. So we've got a couple minutes to wait.
Yep.
In the meantime, I'm going to show you exactly why we do this.
Okay.
Over here in Blender, this is where we would, like import one of our models. Uh, so let's actually do that. We'll go File, Import. We're going to use this GLB extension. Um, let's see, Merrick. This might take a second here because it's like 1.5 million polygons, compiling shaders. Hopefully, my computer doesn't seize up on us. I'm probably already dropping some frames.
Well, there you go, dude.
So, this is our high resolution character. Again, the textures look fantastic. The pose is perfect. Everything about this is great,
Yeah.
except for the fact that when we hit wireframe mode, look like I can't even see like I can't even see the polygons. Like this is
Oh.
so high resolution
Oh, I see.
that it's
Wow.
just so densely packed. And this is what it looks like when you take like one of those Resident Evil characters, like a game rip. Like this is the level of detail that they're putting into it, and you wonder why these games are like,
Okay.
um, yeah.
Yeah. No, Yeah, all the time that's spent, all the developers that they need just to add those extra triangles.
Exactly. Well, and it's because they do all, like, the photogrammetry, like, they obviously are doing face scans and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, and so what I wanna show you guys is that the final product of what we're doing here, right here, we have this is what our game ready asset is going to look like. Now, obviously, this is not the character we just did. This is Kalen, the main character. And currently, I have it in wireframe mode. But let's say we turn it back to textured mode. And as you can see, she
Whoa.
is rigged and animated.
Damn.
And so she is ready to be imported into Unity and will be ready to rock and roll. So, so much
Wow.
faster and so much more um, just a better finished product than what I had been doing modeling it myself. And
Or
one
when
of the
you
things
paid
about
that person. You remember?
or when I paid someone else to do it.
Yeah.
Um, Now, even then, you saw that the texture was a little bit shiny, like, it had this, like, late '90s, like, Power Rangers movie style, like,
Oh, yeah.
glossiness to it. We can actually fix that when we import it into Unity. What we're gonna do is we're gonna change the shader from standard to, like, a bumped diffuse shader, and it's gonna bring the shine down. It's gonna make it look more, just more
Matte?
natural.
Or
Yeah,
natural,
matte.
okay.
Perfect, yeah. We're
Okay.
just gonna give it a top coat, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this yeah, right.
So, skipping ahead here, because obviously we have 20 more seconds before we get our 3D, smart topology. What we are going to need to do in order to get our final mesh is we need to, bring it into Mixamo and use their auto rigger, because, like, Blender has some rigging ability to it. You can use, like, Rigify. I have found that the rigging in Mixamo works way better, and this is free. Again, we're not using any paid tools.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Um, Now, what's weird about this is, and Mixamo is such an old tool that it doesn't handle newer models and newer textures quite as well. So the preview obviously looks janky, but then you saw what it looked like in Blender. It actually did export the textures the way that we wanted them to be. Um, Now that said, we probably are going to want to get Blender back open here, and we wanna close this. We wanna bring him back into view because there's some things that we're gonna have to do in order to get this texture back on to the 3D model, and I'm gonna show you why. Because uploading a 3D model with a texture to Hunyuan's smart topology algorithm, it has to strip out all of the UV mappings. So it has to basically just throw away the texture because it's not going to be good anymore. Um, Now, the benefit is that you have a much smaller 3D file to work with. And fortunately, we have tools within Blender that allow you to remap that texture onto a new model, even without having, the same UV unwrap.
Oh, okay.
So once we get this done, we can hopefully get to that. It depends on A, whether my computer decides to explode,
Well, hey, in the meantime, really quick, I wanna let everyone know that after months, maybe years of searching, I found that action figure toy line I was talking about from the late '80s. That it
Oh,
was called Visionaries. There's
Visionaries.
yeah,
Yeah,
Visionaries,
I
and they
thought
had,
you were
like
gonna say, like, the Centurions.
no, yeah, they had, like I guess they had a show, they had a hologram on their chest, and, like, the vehicle also had, like, a hologram stuff going on, so Visionaries.
Holograms were big, man.
Yeah, I remember, and there was these toys that were like these little animals, and they also had holograms on their chest, and you would, like, put your thumb on it to change the color. I gotta look up what that
Oh,
was.
yeah. Honestly, that I forget what that technology is called, like the thermal
Yeah.
reactive inks or whatever, but that is what I thought they should have done with the Gundam aerial model kits, is have that
Oh,
so that then you
yeah.
just rub it to activate the permit score, um,
Use a little
but
heat gun to get it prepared for a photo.
just melt
The
the, kit.
Oh, yeah, no, but
Um,
the other thing real quick is called Battle Beasts. That was they had they had the little, like, animals with armor, but they were, like, arms and legs, and they had the yeah,
that's awesome.
crazy. All the stuff
Um,
coming back.
yeah, I mean, so man, there was just so much better stuff when we were kids.
Yeah. It
So yeah, we got this down to 16,000 vertices
Whoa.
or 16,000 faces instead of the 1.5 million that it was before. Um, that is and, like, if you look, it's not, like, all terrible, like, you can tell
Right.
what is has been like, you can
There's
see
still
where
detail.
the arm is rendered in one, like, topological wrap, whereas the shirt is done in a different one. So it
Ah,
actually works
okay.
out really, really well. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go ahead and download it. We'll
Okay.
call it Merrick Low Poly. And then hopefully by closing out some of these tabs, it's gonna help me save some CPU so that we can actually do this. Um, so next we are going to need to import another GLB. We're gonna do our Merrick Low Poly. Now, as you can see, it came in a little larger than we want him to be. Uh, if I remember correctly, the proper scale is it's 52.5% is the correct size because we want him to basically overlap perfectly with the other model here. Now let's see if I can remember our process because it is a bit of a process to do this. We want to world. I don't know what that means. Okay, so we just want this part is the model. Um, we want to go into our render settings and we've got cycle render, which is good. I think we are going to need to, in our shader, add a new material, or we can just use the material we've got, which I think is, which material is assigned to him? No material. Okay, so we got to do a new material. Um, and from there, let's add a, we need an image texture. This is where we get into the fun, like, programming side of, of Blender. We need to add our shader, which is going to be a principled BSDF shader. And then we are going to add the output, which is just going to be a material output. Um, this is going to connect to there. We are not going to connect the color of the image texture to the shader just yet. First, we actually need to create an image, and we're going to set it to 2048 by 2048. Say okay. Um, all of that stuff looks good. The next part, this is where I don't remember exactly the step that we need to do. So I think what we're going to do is in our bake settings here, we want to bake, we want to do a diffusion bake color. We have a zero point 0.01 extrusion. We want the selected to active. So that means what we want to do is grab this, and then we are going to shift grab the other one because you want the model from the texture that you're grabbing to be selected, but then you want the active one to be the one that you're mapping the texture to. I think this is going to work. We'll see what happens. Bake. So right now it's baking the texture. Let's see, no active UV layer. Oh, Well, that would explain it. First, I need to UV unwrap him. So we're just going to do a smart UV project. We go into edit mode, UV, smart UV project. We're just going to go with the default settings, not mess with it. And I think that actually worked. So let's hide the high res model. Oh, nope. Oh, well, I know the problem. We didn't connect it. Something's not quite right here because he is quite colorless.
Hmm.
So the next thing that I probably forgot to do was actually change this image. Boop, boop, boop. That's not the image I wanted. Let's do this untitled image. We're gonna go image, save as. We'll put it in this folder. We'll call it. We'll see if we can finish this. Where it's a 3-minute speed run to creating a texture.
I think you can
Um,
do it.
we will certainly try. Let's go back into our shader editor. Um, we want to make sure that this is actually our Merrick texture, but it's not in here, so we need to actually grab it. Merrick text PNG. Now let's try to bring up our high res model, grab him, grab the low res one, bake that image, circular dependency for untitled the mesh. Well, no, we don't want that. We want the Merrick texture. Let's see. Maybe I need to delete this. We're going to add a new image texture and not connect it. Let's open up the one we created. I swear this worked earlier.
I believe you.
um, all right. So now we're going to grab our high res model, our high res model. I can't select the low res model. All right. Let's try to bake it again. Fingers crossed. See what we get. It's at 0%. And I guess technically we don't need to do this at this step because we can always do it after we get the model out of Mixamo. But it's just easier when it's already textured, goes into Mixamo, gets rigged, we bring it out, and it's ready to go. This texture bake is taking a lot longer, which makes me think it might be done right.
Well,
But
still
if you've got to
impressive.
go,
Yeah.
we can pick this up.
I gotta say though, I am completely shocked at this AI workflow from using free tools to be able to generate your concept to get to the 3D model. Like,
I
that's
mean, and
insane.
that's one of the reasons that I wanted to show this process off is because I really want people to kind of embrace these tools and start
Yeah.
making things. Like, it's that old meme, right? Like, you can just do things. Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
so make your dreams come true is the idea here. And we'll pick this up again, if not next week, then in the coming weeks, because I do want to show off all of the steps that go into this and then importing it into Unity, all that good
Mhm.
stuff. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
thank you guys for bearing with me for the technical difficulties. And of course, as always, I don't have a high spec PC, so I'm sure the stream quality was all over the place.
That was good.
But thank you guys again so much for tuning in. I hope you all like what you see and are excited to see more. In the meantime, catch the Gundam Explain show tomorrow over
That's right.
on
Yep.
Gundam Explain, and
Yep.
we will see you next time.
Yep, see you guys.
Cheers.